Something I see a lot in the comment section, religious zealots with so much to say. A few comments that I've also noticed, comments around people processing and sharing around their own religious trauma and how it's taken them so long to get to the point where they're able to develop a relationship with their ancestors because of that. Lastly, the way that this thing has shown up for me is emsamo. When somebody comes in and just says, I didn't grow up with this, I don't know what it means, what it is. Religious trauma. I'm talking about religious trauma and how it impacts our relationship with our ancestors. Hello and welcome to Sangoma Society. My name is Uhani Wagamagwagwa. I am Honey Tell a Story on all social media networks and Nginguma Kosi Unomabuto Emsamo. And this is Sangoma Society, where we demystify the ancestral. Today we're talking about religious trauma and its impact on our relationship with our ancestors. Let's start with what trauma is. Trauma is when we have experienced an event that our conscious mind cannot fully process. So our subconscious mind may develop certain narratives around the event that we have experienced in order to make it make sense in the broader story of what our life is. And because of this, a story and a pattern is formed. This is what we then call a trauma. It is not a true recollection of events. It is not something which lives in us, memory or experience, that is true to the integrity of the moment that it took place in. Then it has this other layer which involves repression. So trauma, when the brain cannot process an experience or an event, the brain can also repress certain memories, certain understandings, certain experiences, certain sensations, certain smells. Your senses can be numbed to certain things that would otherwise force your brain to process an event for which it does not have the tools to understand, unpack, deal with, handle, right? Hence you hear the term post-traumatic disorder. When we speak about triggers, we speak about that which was previously suppressed, being awakened in some way. Perhaps a smell brings back a memory of a certain place, a garbage dump that you used to pass on the way to school, and that whole journey perhaps was traumatic. And you know, your nose becomes almost numbed to that smell until one day suddenly that element of smell for that particular note has returned. Why does that happen? Why does the brain allow triggers in? The intention is that when this happens, we are now in a place where our conscious mind knows that it has the tools to process what has been suppressed in our subconscious mind. However, the process, the habit of suppression is far greater than what our cognitive mind is, trying to facilitate for us. And this is where now we talk about a trauma response, where we have a response that is hardwired in the same subconscious wiring that is still there from the event of the initial trauma. So for instance, if you were in a war zone and you hear fireworks and you have PTSD, or you are triggered by fireworks, then what you would experience is that the fireworks put you back in that emotional state that you were in when you were in the war zone, and those banging noises were bombs and guns and so on. Do you understand me? So this is what is happening when your body, your mind, your conscious and your subconscious are processing a trigger to a trauma when you are going through a trauma response. So how does this now contextualize in the context of religion? Well, religion for most of us, most of the world is colonized by Christianity. And in the brand of Christianity that was sold to us, especially in the global South, it's that all forms of indigenous spirituality are inherently opposed to God, to the divine creator. And so we carry those stories in us and we project them into different situations that we may experience, even our own spiritual awakening. We hold on and try to repackage this ancestral calling into something that the church can make do with. But the crazy thing is, ancestral callings are not unique to people of color, to people from the global South. I just feel that we seem to have the hardest time coming to terms with our religious trauma when we are processing our ancestral awakenings. It's honestly heartbreaking. I've seen families falling apart because they're trying to patch some veil of Western respectability onto something that they see through the lens of their religious understanding as dirty, as dark, as inherently evil. I've known people who have chosen to end their lives rather than accept this calling, because for them it is some sort of divorce from true awakening. I've seen it in healers who try to repackage or position themselves in such a manner that they say, I am not like the others. I am not a logical person. I'm a yoga person. I'm an essential oils person. And your ancestors are your own. There is nothing inherently dirty, inherently dark, inherently uneducated about having an ancestral calling. That is all religious trauma. Our traditions, like ukulobola, imembeso, ukwalula, all these things, they are ancestral practice, but we pick and choose that which we respect and reject the stuff that looks too much, too dark. When there's a goat involved or there's slaughtering that has to happen, now there's a different narrative. Now we want to just make it a party. Now we just forget the part that we were not just manifested on this earth. We came from somewhere, from our ancestors. They lived so that we might breathe. And when we run away from them, we run away from ourselves. We rob ourselves of an incredible opportunity to learn who we really are. That is the impact of religious trauma on your relationship with your ancestors. It is all the stories you tell yourself. The one that you all love on Twitter is that unesithunywa awunadlozi, because you're so terrified of having an ancestral calling that doesn't have anything to do with the church, or that aspect of your ancestral calling terrifies you so much because you're viewing it through the lens of your religious trauma. We have tools here at Sangoma Society that are designed for helping us clear through trauma. Clearing into consciousness is the vehicle through which we would advise you to get into those shadows of your religious trauma and begin clearing them out, so that when you are making decisions about yourself and about your ancestors, whether it is related to a ceremony that must take place or to your ancestral calling as a whole, that you do it in the consciousness of your true self, not through the lens of your religious trauma. I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation today. If you have any questions about what we've shared, please pop them in the comment section down below. I'll make sure that I make the time to come back to you and answer those. If your question is straying longer than, say, 2 sentences, please be aware that you most likely need a consultation. If this has been helpful for you in any way, please like, subscribe, and share this with your family and friends. My name is Uhani Wagamakwakwa. I'm Honey Tell a Story on all social media platforms. Ngingumakhosi uNomabutho Emsamo, and this is Sangoma Society. You can find us on all social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as our podcast every new moon and full moon. Until next time, Ukhani.